Hi everybody, I'm back today with a tutorial using the Arden Creative Page Starters collection. Now I'm going to show you how to create this kind of photo reveal card. Now I absolutely love this design. This can be a greeting card, it can be on a scrapbook page, it can be in an art journal. The possibilities are endless and the mechanism is really easy. I've decorated everything with the Page Starters kit and the papers absolutely lend themselves to do this mechanism with. A lot of the work is done for you. So come and join me for the tutorial, and of course we'd love it if you could like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiration and tutorials like this. So first of all, I'm going to pull together my basic card base. I'm going to show you how to put that together to do the mechanism, and then we're going to go into decorating. Now the collection that I'm using for the entire card is going to be the Arden Creative Studio Page Starters collection. So I have actually based this mechanism around this paper pad. So this is the Page Starters paper pad, and it's got lots of beautiful prints in it. It's actually designed by Katie Petite so that you can do like art journal pages, mini books, mini scrapbooks, and a lot of the background work is already done for you, as you can see. Now I've used a lot of this already, but when I saw the circles I thought, you know what, they're absolutely ideal for this particular card. So I've chosen two. I want one for the front of my card, and I've chosen this beautiful sort of mustard yellow one, and then I've also got a green one. Now I've started measuring and cutting, but it's really simple. So I've got an A4 piece of cardstock, okay, and I've just folded that into a gatefold. Now I have got a slight score line down the centre, so I could find the centre point to do my gatefolds here on my scoreboard, but that's going to be all covered up, so I'm not worried about that. So I've got a white card base, and then I trimmed the circle out of this green pattern paper. So I've put it horizontal on its side, trimmed the two ends off so that I've just reached the edge of the circle. And then if you've started with an A4 or maybe a letter size, you might need to adjust it for letter because we use A4 here, but if you've used an A4 card base, then you can usually sit this with a good 1.5 cm gap in the center, which is what we need. We need that gap to let the mechanism work. Then I've trimmed the height of my card base down to the width of the papers. Okay, so if you see, this paper was like so, so I've trimmed my card base down there. So this is going to be for the center of my mechanism. Now I need to cut a circle in here, and I'm going to just do that with a circular nesting die. So lots of you, if you're already crafty, will have one of these, but if you don't have one of these, don't worry, because you can absolutely just use something like a craft knife, pop some scissors in there, because it's quite a large area. It's nice and easy to get into. Now while you're doing this, it's a good idea to also use the same circle and cut into the center of this yellow one too. It just saves you time later. Okay, so that will now fit absolutely perfectly in there, and we can now look at making our mechanism. So I'm going to use these Page Starters solid paper pack this time. I think I'm going to use the yellow colour. Now this has pale and more saturated of the shades throughout the collection, so this is the one that matches with the front cover. I don't usually use a lot of yellow, but I just thought I would for this one. So what we want to do is cut ourselves a strip that is wider than your circle. So whatever your circle may be, you just need to cut yourself a long strip. Let's do it this way. And I'm actually going to use my die just as a guide for me here to make sure I get that longer than needed. That should be absolutely fine, just making sure that's all nice and straight. So I like to put all my scraps together. Sometimes I can even make a card from my scraps afterwards. Let's just take the end off of this for now. Take the tab off the top. And with this now, what you want to do is cut it in half. Now it's entirely up to you how you do that. You can cut it in half completely straight. That's the most simple method. You could cut it in half diagonally. So I think I'm going to do diagonal. I think that's a nice way of doing this one. So it doesn't have to be 45 degrees, but as long as it's kind of central diagonal, just eyeballing that really. So this red line is where it will cut, so making sure that the two ends are roughly, there we go, roughly even. And then that will act as our opening for whatever we decide to put in the centre. Now, I'm not going to have a huge photo in the middle. I'm going to have a photo, but just a peek through when you open. So, okay, so now I need to think about my photo. I need to go and grab that. So sometimes the perfect photo just comes along, and it's got to be this one of my dad. I think that's going to fit absolutely perfectly in there. And then we'll, of course, have these. Just make sure that's going to work. Just open up. It will just be a little bit of a peek through so you can see him in the center there. Okay, so now I need to just glue this photo down. So that was just making sure that's going to be in the center of the circle. So making sure there's an even space here. Move the photo to where it needs to be. This is a good idea to get yourself maybe a pencil right now. So I'm just going to press on the photo, grab myself a pencil or even a pen, anything just to mark. Oh, let's get a sharp one, shall we? I'm going to remove this out of the way. Just mark the corners. This is all going to be covered up, and I can glue that photo down. There we go. Okay. So now again, just positioning this over the top. So there, I'm going to add some glue to the top and the bottom of this piece, but that is all. And again, making sure that is in the middle of the card, so we've got an even border down both sides. Give that just a few minutes to start to dry, depending on your glue. Might take a little while. And now you want to just slide your pieces in here. So as we say, we've just glued the top and bottom, and as long as they are now dry, they should be okay to fit in there nicely. So just close those up nice and even. And what we want to do is, again, make sure that is straight. You can use some sort of guide if need be. I'm going to draw a very thin line just down the edge of our patterned piece. And it's actually easier if you take this out again. Use a scoreboard, and what we want to do is we want to trim these pieces so that they are coming to the very edge of your card base. So I can actually measure this, make sure I get it correct. So from the edge of the paper to this score line, we are looking at 1.5 centimeters. So kind of eyeballed that earlier, but 1.5 centimeters. So we want to, first of all, if I can find my scoring tool, just score down that pencil line that we've made, and we can rub this out later. There. And then from there, you want to actually measure 1.5 centimeters. Now, my trimmer doesn't really do that sort of distance. So it's a little bit difficult. So I need to measure it, mark it, and then cut it. So 1.5 centimeters would be there. Put that just like so. There we go. And fold that over. There we go. So that is the first one, and we're going to do the same on this one. So we're going to score along this line. Doesn't matter where you score it, just use the scoring board as a guide. And again, just going to measure 1.5 centimeters, little mark, and then cut that as well, making sure that is nice and straight. And fold that over. So you should now have the two pieces like so. Let's bring our card base back in. And again, we're going to do the decorating on the front in a moment, but I'm just showing this mechanism in detail. I'm just going to pop this one under here, this one under here. I think I caught a bit of glue there, so make sure that's not going to catch on anything. Make sure there's lots of movement there, which there seems to be. Okay, I think it's glue from the photo, from the underneath of the photo. Making sure you're happy with these. So now what we want to do is just take these tabs, fold one over, apply glue to the back of this. So I'm just using a wet glue, but you could use something like red liner tape or double-sided tape if you prefer, and press that down. I'm going to do the same this side too. Now I've noticed since I've done that, that has just opened up a bit. There we go, lower that down. So this is going to be on the front of my card, and I want to make sure that that is going to be where the circle is on the inside. So I'll be looking at that in a moment. Now let's just open this up very slowly, making sure everything is glued where it should be. There's definitely a little bit of glue in there that I've got in there that's just stuck, so ensure that's not catching. There we go. And as we open that up, we reveal the photo and it closes, which I absolutely love. Now I'm being very gentle with this at the moment, purely because there's still wet glue in there. I'm going to decorate panels here, which in fact these will probably work perfectly for. So these are quite even panels. So just while things are drying, do any sort of decoration that you can, or step aside, leave it for a little while, go make a coffee. But I like to get on if I can. So these panels will fit nicely. So these have come from that paper in the centre. I think that's going to work beautifully on the edges of those, and these can be glued down as long as you're only gluing down up to that pencil and score line that you can see. And as we said at the beginning, the card base was cut to the width of this paper, so there's no additional cutting required there, trimming, because the height is already correct. This is only going to also help hold that tab in. Oh, I love that. Okay, so now I want to trim this one down to fit also. But to do that, I need to line it up with the circle that's underneath. So again, take a pencil. And I'm just going to open one of these and place my circle over the top. So should we do it that way? Whichever way you think feels like it fits best. That's it. There we go. Perfect. And first of all, I'm going to mark very slightly the halfway mark, and then I'm going to mark where the edge of my card is. I can't quite see it there, so I'll have to assume. And then I'm going to also go round the centre of the circle that I cut. Then I can repeat that with this one, although you should pretty much be able to see, and make sure that does fit nicely there. Around the centre of the circle on the card base inside, and then mark where the edge of your card is. There we go. And then we're going to do some trimming. So we're going to trim the two edges off first, and then we're going to also come down through the centre. Now this is always a bit nerve-wracking, going right through the middle, but we've marked it, we know where we're going. So there we go, it's done. And we should, now it might be this way, we should be able to line that up absolutely perfectly with what we've already got. There we go. Now I've drawn that circle already on there, and what I can do now is I can take my circle die again, and I can run this through in my die cutting machine, but I'm only going to run it through, or you could do it with scissors if you prefer, but I'm only going to run through this little bit as I'm cutting, because I don't want to squash any of the mechanism in there. Not that it will do any harm because it is all flat, but I still want to be a little bit careful with it. So just a little bit of low-tack tape to hold my die down, sticking it on the inside because that's going to be the waste, and run that through my die cutting machine, and then repeat for the other side. There we go. So that should be all the circles that you need to cut now. So putting that together, as you can see, we've got a slight little bit of a line there where there's a gap, but I don't think that's an issue because we are going to create some decoration on the front that's totally going to cover that up. So let's glue these pieces on, just making sure that they are fitting this way round and not the other way round best. Yep, Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to actually glue these straight onto my card base. Again, as always, be careful with excess glue because you've got a mechanism here. You don't want to be gluing anywhere you don't want. So now we've got our mechanism there, everything's covered over, it's absolutely fantastic. Now we can do some stamping in here, we can use ephemera, we can use the laser cuts. I prefer to use the laser cuts from this collection. So let me just grab these because they are absolutely beautifully designed on both sides. So when you open your card, you're not going to see the white reverse of them. So I think what I'm going to do is use some, I love this. So we've got some rub-ons here, and these are going, I think this is going to look memorable moments and celebrate this day, or actually great adventure. So a little bit of background. This is my father who had dementia, and I took him to a big park near ours. He loved the birds in the aviaries, and we sit down and have a picnic. That's the first time he'd been out in a long time, and he really loved it. And it was somewhere we went a lot when I was little. So it was definitely making memories as much as he could remember, but he was definitely very happy that day, as was I. So memorable moments is perfect, and great adventure too. As you can see, he's got his crisps in his hat. That's all he ever needed when he went out. So I'm going to, in the way of decoration, cut these two words out. So let me know in the comments what you would use this mechanism for. Now, obviously, it's usually used in card making primarily, but of course, as I say, anything. So yeah, let me know if you were to try this out. And certainly the page starters papers are perfect for this. But what would you put it on? What would you use it for? So because that one's come a little more down to the bottom, I'm going to put this one a little more to the top. Now go ahead and cover up this gap, because that's something you may find happens. If you've done a diagonal like me and you've got a little bit of a gap, it probably just means that you need to slightly move one of these up or down. I've just slightly missed there, but it's fine. You can't really see, but if I was to put a ruler, I might find that I think actually this one's slightly higher up, so that probably needed to come down slightly, but easily fixable, because I'm going to use these beautiful double-sided lasers. So these laser cuts, let's go with the greens because we've got the greens inside. So let's just glue these down. I think I'm going to glue the butterfly first, and I'm only going to glue the wings, the tips of the wings here, and only to the edge of the front of the card. Now, as I say, the beauty of these laser cuts is that they are coloured on the reverse, so when you open that up you're going to see the beautiful colour and not just the back, the white side of the back. Now at every stage when you're doing anything with the mechanism, I suggest you keep opening it and closing it and making sure that you're happy with how everything is sitting. So I think I'm going to come to the ephemera from the Page Starters kit for a sentiment here. We've got some lovely ones. I like to look at the back because that tells you everything that's in this pack first of all. So we've got here, this is happy, which I think is perfect. Oh look, it's right at the bottom as well. I think that is the perfect sentiment for what this is. Absolutely. Maybe we need a little bit of something darker underneath just to make that stand out a bit more. So I'm thinking one of these slightly darker blue butterflies, perhaps just under there. I think that will work. Perfect. So this card then opens up like so. I could add some more decoration if I wanted to. I could really continue putting more and more on, but hopefully that has taught you just really the mechanism for this card stroke mini album stroke scrapbook photo reveal, using the Page Starters set. So I love that the circular papers here really lent themselves to create this card with that circular aperture. And let me know in the comments, like I say, if you're going to make anything like this, if this has inspired you to have a go, and we'd love, of course, for you to tag us on social media and show us your makes. And on Facebook there is an Arden Creative Studio group so that you can come and join us and share your makes too, and see inspiration from lots of other crafters as well. So everything will be linked in the bottom for you, stockists for Arden Creative, and of course that Facebook group and our Facebook page. So thank you everybody for joining me. I hope you like this, and take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.